Hi, my name's Prumihimo, and this is a project video where I'm going to show you how to make some amazing jewellery using the Prumihimo disc, which is a disc that I have developed as a result of a lot of experimentation and trial and error to make beautiful braided jewellery. It's a patented product and it's available on my website. The jewellery I want to show you today is button jewellery, like the necklace I'm wearing here, where I've used little heart buttons, or perhaps the necklace here, where I've used round buttons. Or on this stand, I've got a selection of jewellery. I've got a bracelet with buttons and stars. I've got a necklace with stars and hearts, and a bracelet with hearts. But the bracelet I'm going to show you how to make is this one, and this uses star shell buttons. Now, you don't have to use exactly these buttons. You can use all sorts of different things, and this is what will make your jewellery unique to you. But I have chosen to use these buttons because the shell buttons are particularly attractive. They have a lovely natural look and iridescence, and they're very lightweight, and they're perfect for braided jewellery. So the materials you'll need for this bracelet are satin cord, or you might have come across it called rat tail. And for this bracelet, I've used the 2mm diameter, and I've used 2.5 meters of that. I've also used beading cord, and that's the Eslon or Ceylon beading cord, 0.5mm, and you need 3 meters of that. You also need some buttons. So you may be able to find some little star buttons like this, or hearts, or I've seen flowers. But what you need is a button that has 2 holes in the middle and is about 1 centimetre in diameter. You can use buttons that are slightly larger or slightly smaller, and that will just affect the spacing of your beads, of your buttons. And for that, on this bracelet for my wrist, I've used 11 buttons. So for a smaller one, you'll need 9 or 10. For a larger one, you will need 12, 13, it depends. You also need some beads for along the side. Now I've used size 8 beads along the side here. And for each button, you need 6 beads. So for instance, if you're going to use 10 buttons, then you need 60 beads. On top of that, to finish off, you would need some sort of clasp option, and I've used a magnetic clasp. Now, before you start on this, please make sure that you have learnt how to use the Prumihimo disc. I have 2 videos, one showing how to braid without beads, one how to braid with beads, and it's very important that you've practiced these techniques thoroughly. You need to be able to braid confidently and accurately to get the best outcome. And once you are able to do that, then you're ready to try different approaches, try different materials, and try this lovely bracelet. So, off we go. When you thread on the buttons, it's very important to be consistent so that you get them the right way round. So always hold them the same way up, if that is how you want them on the braid. And hold them in the same hand. Then with the other hand, and it can help if you've stiffened your cord with something like super glue or with clear nail varnish, and let it dry and harden, so it's just a little bit easier to get through the holes. Then you come up from behind the button and you go through the first hole. Obviously it's, there we go, that through the first hole, pull it through, and then from the front to the back through the second hole. And pull tight and pull it up the cord. And that is how you need to thread on all the buttons in a consistent fashion. So this is the setup for your disc. As usual, you're going to keep the thick cords in certain slots, and those are the top and bottom cords with slots with dots at number 1 and at number 2. And you're going to put your thinner cords in the top and bottom slots with dots at number 3 and number 4. you need to thread your size 8 beads onto both the top and bottom cords at number 3, and you're going to thread half on one cord and half on the other. So I've threaded 36 beads onto the bottom cord here, and I've threaded 36 beads onto the top cord here. And then in addition, you need to thread your buttons onto the top and bottom cords at number 4. And I've got 6 on each, and I've held all my beads in position with a stop bead, which is just a size 6 bead which I've passed the cord through twice in the same direction so that I can move the bead up and down the cord, which means I can keep the beads nice and close to the disc when I'm working, but I can also release more cord as I need it. So we'll have a quick recap on the moves of the braid with the Prumihimo disc. So we start at number 1, and it's top to bottom, bottom to top, bottom across. The cords are on the dots, so we can follow the arrow round to number 2. Top to bottom, bottom to top, bottom across. And at number 3, top to bottom, bottom to top, bottom across. And at number 4, top to bottom, bottom to top, bottom across. And remember that as you work, you want to keep your disc level, you want to keep your cords as tight as possible across the face of the disc, and you want to keep the knot or the point of braiding in the middle of the disc, and you can adjust it just like that if necessary. You want to keep it nice and close to the middle of the hole and level with the top of the hole. And you can use a weight if you like to, or you can maintain tension with your fingers if you like to. That is up to you. So what you need to do first of all is braid for about 2 centimeters. Now people often ask why it's necessary to braid for so much, because often you snip off a lot of that. Well, the reason is it gives you a little bit of flexibility. So if you've got a bit of extra braid at the end of your bracelet, if when you come to the end you wish you'd made it a little bit larger, you can use that and just decide where you position your clasp to decide on the length of the bracelet. So it's a useful way of giving you flexibility. And the second reason is it means that your braiding settles down, so that your tension settles down, your braiding is nice and regular, so that when you start to actually add your beads and buttons, your braiding is nice and regular and consistent. So the first round, after you've done that 2 to 3 centimeter bit at the beginning, is the moves at number 1 and number 2 with the thick cords. Then at number 3, you're going to drop in a bead, just one, into the V, pop it into position with your thumb if necessary, keeping an eye on it, and again at number 3, the bottom cord at number 3, so I've dropped one in from the top and the bottom. I've finished my moves. I'm tapping my thumb across as necessary if they look as if they're going to jump out of position. Then I'm going to move round, and for this first move I'm not going to add in any buttons. So I'm just going to do my normal moves at number 4. I'm just straightening out the cords so they don't get too tangled. Now I move on round to number 1 again. So in the second full sequence of moves, I perform the moves on the thicker satin cords. And then at number 3 again, I drop in beads from the top and bottom. And at number 4, I drop in my first button. Now you may need to just ease them down with your fingers like that. They're not going to drop down like a bead would, so just ease them down and I pop it into position. Now it may feel a little loose in this first move. The most important thing is that it's in the correct position. Don't worry if it's a little bit loose in itself, because we can tighten it in the next move. So it's all about the positioning. So I've popped that bead into position. Now I complete my moves at number 4. Then I carry on round, starting my next sequence, doing my satin cord moves. And then at number 3, I'm going to drop in a bead from the top and bottom cords. And in this design, whoops, 2 went in there, so I'm just going to remove one. I only want one at a time for this design. And now when we get to number 4, this cord, this bottom cord, is the cord that was at the top that placed that bead. So I can just tighten that button. I'm going to just put my thumb there to brace against the braid and just pull. And that just pulls that bead, that button into position and makes it nice and tight. And now I'm going to continue, and I'm going to just do at this stage I'm not going to add in any more because there's no space for any more. And in fact I'm going to do two full sequences of moves without adding a button before I add the next one. So I go on to the next sequence of moves. In this design, in each sequence I'm going to add in beads at number 3, but I'm only going to add in a button at every 3rd sequence of moves. So that is now the 2nd sequence of moves without a button. And now this is going to be the 3rd sequence of moves where I do add in a button. So again, the beads go in from the top and bottom cords at number 3. And now there's room for a button, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ease the button down the cord. I'm going to pop it into position. I'm not going to worry that it's not tight at this stage. I'm just going to complete the moves at number 4. And then as I come on round into the next sequence, I will have the opportunity to tighten up that button. So again, every time the cords at number 3 are moved, I'm going to drop in a bead from both top and bottom. And this is the tightening move now, if necessary. So I can just brace the cord with my thumb and just tighten up with that cord, and then just complete my moves without dropping anything in. And so forth. So the next move then is another move without dropping in a button. That's my 2nd full sequence of moves without a button. And then now this is my 3rd sequence of moves, so this is the time when I add in a button. So you'll soon get into the rhythm of it. And just remember to count every 3rd time. And again, just remember to ease the button down and then tighten it on the next move. So I'm just going to show you what this looks like now. So we can see that the buttons are evenly spaced, and you just continue with that braiding routine, adding in the size 8 beads every time you've moved the cords at number 3, but only adding in a button in every 3rd sequence of moves, and in the following sequence of moves tightening up the button. So continue braiding until the braid is the right length for you. Everyone will have a different requirement, and because the materials that everyone's using might be slightly different and their tension is different, there's no way of saying exactly how long a braid will turn out. So the important thing is to keep measuring it on your own wrist and estimating how long the clasp you're going to use is going to be, so that you're sure you get it to just the right length for yourself. So in this case, I didn't need to use all 12 of the button beads, I only needed to use 11 of them. When you're happy that the length is right, continue to braid for a little bit at the 2nd end. You may not need as much as you needed first time round, because you now know how long you want your bracelet to be. but you need to braid for at least 1 centimetre so that you've got some leeway to do your ending. And then when you've done that, you can simply take the braid off the disc, tie it in an overhand knot, and you're ready to do your clasp. So look out for that in future videos. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. You've now made the braid for your bracelet. Now, I'm not going to show you how to finish it off with your clasp because I show that in detail in 2 separate videos. I have one about glued-on endings and I have one about wired-on endings. For this particular bracelet, I decided to use a magnetic glued-on clasp. So check those videos for how to do that. If you'd like to make a matching necklace, try double quantities, just double up those quantities I gave you before and check the length as you work, and you can make a matching necklace for your bracelet. If you'd like to see more tutorials and projects from me, just subscribe to this channel and you'll be notified when I load up more tutorials, because I've got lots of exciting things lined up for you. Don't forget to check my website as well, which is where you'll get the Prumihimo disc. You'll get my book, which has lots of other ideas as well, and all sorts of hints and tips on all aspects of Kumihimo and Prumihimo. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.